Live, Buckingham Palace and Downing Street host VE Day tea parties after royals watch a fly past. Brilliant. Yes, I love the modern VE Day celebrations. They're fantastic, aren't they? It's when a bunch of globalist sociopaths determined to turn the entire planet into one gigantic, awful country. Yeah, regardless of anything else. People who lie to you about history, hate everything about your country, detest the values of all of your forebears. It's when they try and pretend to be patriotic for the day, while the mainstream media does the same and echoes it all and flies the Union Jack proudly in a desperate attempt to convince you, the sheeple, that giving away overseas territories to the enemy, allowing foreign strangers to surprise sex and occasionally kill your children, and treating with kid gloves, I don't know, foreign arsonists who attempt to burn down perhaps the single most important monument to our war dead, treating people like that with kid gloves. And you might remember, yeah, all the politicians were like, oh, he's definitely going to go to jail, we're definitely going to show him who's boss. Sure enough, kid gloves, memory hole the story, and then once every 5 years, flag wave the Union Jack. Oh yeah, we love our country. Please, Prime Minister, don't piss in my face and tell me it's raining. Anyway, let's not start the rant quite yet. Out of morbid curiosity, I'm going to go through the BBC's VE Day celebrations just for a laugh, because it is funny. I remember 5 years ago, I believe I made a video about it, probably like when I'd very first started my channel, and it amused me to no end because Merkel was over here shaking hands with the royal family and the Prime Minister. But the Russians, all strangely absent, they don't get an invite. The country that was allied with us against the enemy in World War II is maligned and remains so. But the little fat poison dwarf, who hails from the country that started it all, well, she gets a big hug because she welcomed 25 million hairy-ass blokes into Europe. So it's weird how that works. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the celebrations whereby our leaders attempt to convince you that they actually care about a country they despise on the daily, because once every 4 or 5 years, they pretend to like it for a little bit. I'm on board. You know why? Well, because here's a picture of a craggy-faced transvestite having a drink. Right then, here's the summary. Street and tea parties are being held across the country, including at Buckingham Palace and Downing Street, to mark 80 years since World War II ended in Europe. Comes after the royal family watched the red arrows fly over the palace. Yeah, to be honest, I'm surprised that happened. I didn't think we had any petrol left for the red arrows. They must have invented pedal-powered aircraft at this point. And the King and Queen are waving to people. So, hold on to your hats, ladies and gents. The King and Queen are waving to people. It's party time. And the Queen, bless her, did the general public a favour and she wore her ceremonial balaclava for the day. The Prince and Princess of Wales and their 3 children joined the monarch, and the King had already saluted a military procession, watched by thousands of spectators. Yeah, about that. The reason this old woman looks a bit aghast whilst viewing the military procession is because she's probably quite surprised that a bunch of people that definitely supported the one bollocked painter, they were walking past her. Because just like the aforementioned Frau Merkel, there was a bunch of Ukrainians, possibly from the Azov Battalion, marching through the middle of London today. So, makes loads of sense, doesn't it? Makes loads of sense. If they're coming, why don't we just go the whole hog and invite the North Koreans? Get Rocket Man and Xi Jinping leading a detachment through the middle of London, because we might as well go balls deep in the idea of parading the enemy through the middle of London. Why not, eh? Yep, here they are, Ukrainian armed forces taking part in a military procession. Brilliant. Love that. They're just trying to get you used to the idea. So, before they conscript your grandkids and send them over to get machine gunned in the hundreds of thousands. In order to move Guy Verhofstadt's drinks cabinet 2 feet closer to Moscow. If that's not a cause worth dying for, I don't know what is. And there's quite a telling section on here entitled Balloons, Bunting and Beanbags, Your Street Parties Pictured. And it's telling because I think this is the only photo I've seen on the BBC in the last decade where almost every single person in the picture is, what do they call them nowadays? Pale and stale? Yeah, there's not really much diversity in that photo, is there? It's almost like a lot of recent imports from overtly hostile nations who absolutely love free hotels, free meals and free gym memberships, but really, really hate paying council tax, making national insurance contributions, and, well, everybody who lives around them. Seems like they're not that interested in holding street parties or celebrating the victory of British forces over the forces of tyranny. And I haven't seen any Black Lives Matter activists or communist flags flying as well. It's very strange. It's almost as if that line that keeps spinning about integration is, complete total bollocks from start to finish. It's almost seems that way to me. But what do I know? I'm a cynic. So what's the point in this video, you might think? Well, I'll finish as I started, I think. I'm going to be deeply cynical about VE Day celebrations from this point forward because it's important to live your life not listening to what the scum that lords it over you say, but watching what they do. And when people like Sausage Fingers there and his howling, apple bobbing in a deep fat fryer, crispy-faced gipper of a wife, and even worse than them, the androgynous android with the monotone voice and his cabinet of full-blown traitors, right? When they spend the entire year criticising everything about the history of our nation, every single aspect of it. When they spend their entire careers pandering to the enemies of our people and our nation, ignoring foreign men as they torture and brutalise your children and occasionally kill them, and even, perhaps the worst crime of all, in a nation with public transport as legendarily awful as the UK, blowing up the trains and buses while they're full of people. That's perhaps the worst crime, because we were already scraping the bottom of the barrel as it was. When they spend their political careers, nay, their very lives, dragging down our country and openly hating the people that have inhabited it for generations, like that little dumpy fat knacker Emily Thornberry, spitting in the face of every man who's ever flown the flag. When they spend their entire lives doing that, but then all of a sudden, it's tea and crumpets and Union Jacks one day every 5 or 10 years. When they do that, and then see a video like this, and claim, I hate my people, my nation and my flag, while they are the proud patriots, if you swallow any of that shite, you're thicker than dehydrated whale spunk. That's all I've got to say about it. If you disagree, have a pop in the comments. Come at me, bro. Especially if you're a sparrow-boned, soy-brained communist who has spent the last decade slagging off the UK, but now all of a sudden you're turning on the patriotism like Mike Tapp or someone because you think the general public have got the memory retention of a drunk goldfish. Have a pop. I love it. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this deeply cynical video. And I hope you echo the sentiment. Because if you think I'm going to clap for the degenerates that lord it over us because they're still trying to live off the fumes of World War II after dragging us down for 30 years, sorry, it's not happening. So you can take your Quorn and Fennel sausage roll and you can pork it. All right? Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.